Hi everyone, good evening, and once more, you're welcome to our rendezvous. Tonight, we continue with our course on corporate administrative assistant, and tonight we will be talking much on developing action plans. As an administrative assistant, it is very important for you to be able to come up with a plan of action for a task, for a project, for a week, for a month, or even annually. So, throughout this session, you will learn the steps involved in developing an attainable plan of action. You will also get to see a sample plan of action. And in this session as well, we are going to handle reporting. Okay, let's get to the introduction. Developing an action plan is a part of turning ideas raised during strategic plannings or evaluation into reality. You can have a discussion with your boss, you have a discussion with your colleagues to make sure that the result of that discussion see the light of day. You need to establish a plan of action on how you're going to execute that. And we should also know that before developing a plan of action, consider the following steps. The objective must have been set. What are you planning to attain? You must have set your objectives. You assess the objectives and identify the actions required to meet the objectives. Okay, so we get straight to the various considerations before coming up with a plan of action. We begin with an objective. You need to identify a clear objective. Yes, you need to identify clear objectives. Revisit the project, revisit the plan. Okay, what you intend to achieve, what you intend to, the project you intend to execute, revisit it and get the objectives. If you don't have the, if you do not have objectives, specific objectives you want to meet, then it will be difficult for you to come up with a calendar, a step-by-step process of achieving that. And after assessing your objectives, after developing your objectives, you assess the objectives. You assess the objectives. Assessment helps to determine whether or not the objective is appropriate or not. During the assessment process, you might find out that it is necessary, or you might have to change a process. You might have to change the objective. So it is very important to you don't only write the objective or set the objective and begin bringing out steps to execute the objective. Evaluate the objective if it is smart, if it is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and it has a time bound. Okay. Now, after setting your objectives and assessing them, the next thing you do is to identify the tasks required to achieve the objectives. List out the various tasks required to achieve the objectives. So a series of tasks needed need to be identified for the objectives to be achieved. List all this and ask yourself what tasks you need to prioritize. When you're able to identify the tasks that you need to prioritize, then you will be able to know which task is coming first. And secondly, not secondly, the next step, you need to work out how to evaluate the activity. How do you evaluate the activities? Plan for finding out how the activity has attained its objectives need to be built into the action plan. Okay, so that might be the last aspect of the activity plan, the last activity in the plan, which is monitoring, which is evaluation. Yeah, which is evaluation. So you should also pay attention to the time frame. Always set a time frame for every activity. As we get into the plan of the sample of a plan of an action plan, you will see how a plan is broken down from the objective to the specific task, the time frame. Okay. The next point: assess the actions and discuss contingency plans. What are contingency plans? Contingency plans are plans that you set or you put in place in order to be able to evaluate that if this doesn't work, what do I do? If this doesn't work, I've planned to purchase 20 bags of cement. If I'm unable to purchase 20 bags of cement, what will I do? What should I do? You should be able to bring up a contingency plan. I plan to purchase 2 trips of sand. I already have enough stone. I plan to purchase 2 trips of sand. If at the end of the day you're unable to get the financial resources to purchase 2 trips of sand, what will you do? You should come up with something. Should you replace sand with the enough stone you have? You get that clear. And when you get all of this, you finalize your action plan. Okay, you finalize your action plan by revising the plan. Go through the plan over and over, and you get your team members to evaluate the plan as well. And let's look at an example of an action plan. Let's look at an example of an action plan. You have the objective. Spell out the objective, expected annual output, the expected result, the plan of action. This plan of action is the tasks. You list the tasks that you're supposed to do, the tasks you're supposed to carry out in order to meet this particular objective. After that, you should be able to, you should have discussed with your team. You should have discussed with your team and assigned whosoever is in charge of this objective, the activity here, the time frame. Is it within the first quarter of the year? I'm sure we understand what are quotas. A quota is 1:4. Okay, if you divide the year into 4, we have four. We have 4 quarters. The first quarter runs from January to March. Second quarter runs from April to June. Third quarter runs from July to September. The fourth quarter runs from October to December. And so you should be able to spell out if the project falls within the second or the third quarter. If your project is a weekly project or is a weekly plan, you should be able to spell the day or the week. Okay, in that case, this will not be quarterly, it will be daily or weekly. And last but not the least aspect is the budget. The budget. How much do you plan to spend on this particular activity? Thank you very much for following Kinde. That is it with a plan of activities. As we come back, we will look at the activity reports. Thank you all. If you have any question, please drop them in the comment section.